Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Oprah, and this is Aussie Game Rant's Game of the Year edition. This time, I'm joined by my partners in crime, Shoggsie23.
How's it going?
And Jimmy D.
We all get cars! See, we've come to the end of the year and I've got nothing. Yeah, that'll work.
I like rusty spoons.
Oh, yes, that's brilliant. Alright, so we are here to discuss Game of the Year. Now, of course, at the Video Game Awards recently, Game of the Year was handed out, but for any of you who aren't informed, I will save that for your own investigation purposes. Each one of us here has our own opinion, and we will battle it out over the next period of time during this podcast. And hopefully we'll come out the other side with one winner, but we could have come out with three. God help us all. Alright, Shoggsie23, off the top of your head, first reactions, Game of the Year, go.
It's got to be Fallout 4.
Shut up. Jimmy D, top of your head, Game of the Year, pressure. You can change it by the end of this session, don't forget.
Bloodborne.
Ooh, different. I'm going to have to say Rocket League.
Actually,
Wow.
Yeah, Rocket League.
Yeah. But we're going to save that discussion for a little later on. So if you want, click the annotation, follow the link, and listen to that bit of the discussion. That's going at the Did you have a bad day at work?
Oh,
Let's look back now at 2015. In my opinion, quite an upsetting year in gaming.
yeah, there's been a few big upsets. There's been some real big disappointments. And then you've had, on the other hand, some great games that have come out. Like the Game of the Year that was announced, The Witcher 3.
Witcher 3.
We've had games like Witcher 3, Fallout 4, Bloodborne, Rocket League. We've had...
Batman?
We had Batman.
Batman.
We've
which, being a big Batman fan, is not what I would consider my Game of the Year.
Which is quite a disappointment. Watch one of our other videos, link in the description, ladies and gentlemen. But my thing with the disappointment this year has been the lull in games. There was a period at the start of the year, a few games came out, some big games. If you remember, actually, Evolve came out this year, which...
Oh, wow.
It died in
this
the
year?
arse. That's how, yeah.
I think I played that for about a week.
Yeah, I played that.
I got 2 days in.
Yeah,
Two
two
days.
days. Yeah, it was a bit whatever. And then there was this period of time during the middle of the year after The Witcher came out when nothing came out. So I think that's part of why The Witcher had great success. And then you've got the end of the year with some big releases. But then again, Christmas time, which is where we're at, has very little lineup.
Everything's
Right.
already come out.
There's a lot of peaks and troughs and
There's not a lot of what you would call a Christmas release.
early
A lot
this
of
year.
them have released between September, October was the time when we saw a lot of these games come out. We're seeing a few come out in the November period, just before Christmas,
yeah.
but none that are basically labelled as like the Christmas release. The
nothing,
one that was
nothing 2 weeks before.
the
or
one
whatever.
the one that will sell the console for Christmas. Most of the games that have already come out are the ones that will sell the console, either or.
That's it. A lot of games this year came early, just like Shoggsie 23.
Zing!
Ladies and gentlemen, that's some news for you. So let's review a few of the games. So at the start of the year, we had The Order 1886.
See, I found that to be a great game with very little in it. It was basically a glorified movie.
It's a movie.
Yeah,
That's all it
basically,
is?
it was a huge
Incredibly
amount of,
pretty. Oh my God.
Huge amount of cinematics. The best way I can explain it is it was a tech demo for their new engine. They have announced that like they want to do another one, whether they're allowed to or not by Sony. I dare say they will be, being a solo IP. I dare say Sony will allow them. They usually allow them one more sequel.
I'd imagine so, yeah.
But yeah, it was just the story was good as well. Like the story that's in it, I found that to be a really good story. Having
Just-
the Knights
yeah.
of the Round Table, and their role in, you might as well say, a modern era, post-Victorian, I think it was. Basically, they put it down as.
Just not enough meat on the bone with that one.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, ladies and gentlemen, we don't consider it Game of the Year worthy. So, we'll move on from there. At the top of the year, we had some interesting remasters.
Mm-hmm.
Like Resident Evil HD remaster on PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One. We had the release of Saints Row Get Out of Hell.
Yep.
Saints Row 4, Re-Elected, Citizens of Earth, and there's Evolve down in 21st of January. So very early on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing, just reading off of that list. We saw so many what are considered HD remakes rather than either new IPs or pre-existing IP sequels.
That says to me, though, next year, hopefully, is a big year for new titles.
Yeah, better be.
From what we've seen, though, with No Man's Sky and all that kind of stuff coming
God,
out...
I cannot wait.
It's going to be a good year for new IPs. A lot of the new IPs that are coming out
Going to be...
look very nice. Like
promising.
you got that other one, Wild, which is another open sandbox game.
Yep.
You've got the other Tom Clancy that's supposed to be releasing next year, Wildlands or something like that. I can't remember the name of it now, but it's basically like an open world...
very promising.
Ghost Recon.
Yeah. Oh, so let's move quickly along. Dying Light, I actually really enjoyed it. There are a few issues with its release.
Early on it had a few issues, especially to do with online.
Yes, and also physical copies. I went day one to buy it, and they delayed it a substantial amount of time, which put off my experience with it. I was actually really ticked off. So I think that there is enough to say, no, not Game of the Year. Let's move on. Like, really, that's a hard hit. Also, I didn't feel that it was a big enough world. It's very, very pretty, very engaging, and very, very terrifying. Dying Light, good night, good luck.
Yeah,
that's their tagline. My God, they are right. If you're looking for a fright this year, check it out.
Yeah, especially if you're once you get to when the light goes down. That's one of the. I have crapped my pants a few times with that bit. I think was Evil Within out this year too. Was that this year?
That was tail end of last year.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So moving on, we've got two Telltale entries this year. Got Game of Thrones, but they started episode 2, and so does Tales of the Borderlands. Now, I don't know whether or not we can count them in this year, because they did technically start last year, but with episode 2 to 5 or so coming out this year. So I'd say we could count them. Very solid entries, but very small story-based games. Not as emotionally evocative as The Walking Dead by Telltale. So once again, I don't think they're Game of the Year contention.
There was quite a large gap between their episodes too.
Which is good, it keeps going back.
Yeah, but with how small the episodes actually are, I mean, if anyone has played The Walking Dead ones, they were great. They were fantastic story and everything was great. But each episode was quite small. The game as a whole was large.
But because it's broken up, you get to the end of the episode and you go, okay, when's the next one coming out?
Yeah, and
I've got to wait for it.
The Walking Dead actually had like quicker ones. I think they were only about a month or two apart at most. Whereas these ones have been a few months apart, which has been a bit of a disappointment because a lot of people steer away from them once they lose interest because there's no interest for them to keep playing it once they've done that, and then they might come back and be like, oh, there's a new episode, but they've already gone and played either the next Telltale games that's coming out or they're just waiting on...
They've moved on to the next big thing or whatever it might be coming out.
They've just taken too much time between each one, and people have moved on to the next big thing.
So we also had Battlefield Hardline, a very promising game, but I don't think it's Game of the Year, based on the fact that it feels like a spin-off. You know those poor TV shows like the Cleveland Show? I just feel they're kind of like the original, but just not quite there.
They're based in the original, but they're...
Yeah, they don't have that magic.
Mark. Yeah, like
that's Battlefield Hardline.
I know a lot of people that still play Battlefield 4.
Yeah.
I know nobody that plays Hardline.
Yep. I play Hardline.
It's a solid game.
It's a good game, but it isn't a Battlefield.
Exactly, it doesn't have that magic.
Battlefield is all war. This one was cops and robbers. They could have done this. They could have reskinned this and have it as a new IP. Basically, they could have done what they did with Battlefront, and basically did a Battlefield reskin with cops and robbers and called it something completely different. They could have just left it as called Hardline, and it probably could have sold more.
So then looking down this list, link in the description, ladies and gentlemen, we have Bloodborne, but we'll save that because that's your contender. So we'll save that for later on down in the piece. And we've got a few more. We've got actually quite a lot of remasters and re-releases. So that basically sums up the year for those. We had Ducktales Remastered. Now, that was on the iOS and Android this year rather than consoles. It was consoles last year, so we can't really count it in this year. But the fact that they remastered that was a very, very solid entry, and I think that was actually a really beautiful game. It's a shame it didn't come out on all platforms this year.
What was that?
DuckTales.
DuckTales Remastered.
It was a very old game, a good side-scroller.
Side-scrolling platformer.
And it got remastered. Another one that got remastered that was basically classed as a cult classic was Grim Fandango. That was another one that actually got released.
Did come out this year. Once again, a very solid entry, but I don't think enough meat on the bone. Also, being a remaster, I don't want to count it in the Game of the Year. It can't be.
It's a pre-existing game. It's the exact same game as, say, 20 years ago or whatever it was.
Yep. Some very quick honourable mentions here. Assassin's Creed Chronicles Trina, beautiful side-scrolling game, very simple, great entry into the franchise, I think, great way of starting out. Shovel Knight, a lot of people out there will probably be screaming at us, indie game, Shovel Knight, Shovel Knight, Shovel Knight, Shovel Knight Amiibo, everything Shovel Knight, it's coming out on Wii U as well, 3DS, I understand the value of it.
Fantastic game.
Fantastic game.
But not enough to make it Game of the Year.
Not enough to make it Game of the Year, it's quite a sad thing, unfortunately. Because it is a beautiful game and a great character. I want to talk about Wolfenstein: The Old Blood. Fantastic game.
Yeah, it brought back a nice classical feel to the Wolfenstein franchise.
Yeah.
When they went on the PS3, they redid Wolfenstein again. So they remade This is the second time they've remade Wolfenstein. They remade it on the PS3, and it basically flunked because it was not like it should have been.
Yep,
It wasn't.
different.
Yeah, it wasn't a Wolfenstein. It wasn't you run and gun basically. Doom has fallen to the same pretenses, and that's why they brought back. I think it was Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which was
that was last year.
Yeah.
And that was essentially Wolfenstein 2.0. It was your updated graphics, but it still had the same gameplay. You still, ran around and shot whatever you wanted.
Same but different.
Yeah.
Same, but
and then they've brought out the Old Blood, which is basically
it's almost
kind
like
of
an expansion.
Return to Castle Wolfenstein almost. Yeah. It's set back in the World War II, whereas the New Order was set in more of a modern day.
Yeah, more of a modern dystopia.
Yeah.
Alright, then we get to May with The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Now, I will say that we'll discuss this more later because it's my second.
It's my second as well.
And I think because of that, we could end up on a consensus on it, as the VGAs also did. So we might save a little bit of discussion for that early, but that was CD Projekt Red, partnered with Namco Bandai. First open world for The Witcher 3. Beautiful game, great storytelling, and solid gameplay.
Really engaging.
Really engaging. 100 hours for me, 100 hours for you.
I have not played enough for it.
Jimmy D, you probably haven't played enough of it. I got hooked on Gwent, so 99 out of the 100 hours was Gwent. Unfortunately, I've played an hour of story. I'm quite disappointed in myself in that, but Gwent, my god, Gwent.
See, the only reason why I would not consider it as a Game of the Year contender is because of how much content's in it.
We'll discuss that in a moment, at the end, where we try to come to a consensus, I think. That could be a big sticking point. Anyone here play Splatoon this year? Major release from Nintendo. The first time they've endeavoured to have a new IP in a very long time. Sales in Japan, very, very high. Mm-hmm. A lot of publicity, a lot of press.
You and I played a little bit of this one.
We certainly did.
I haven't touched it.
It was a good bit of fun, but I don't really feel the need to go back to it.
Oh, I don't feel the need to go back to it at all. A lot of people love it. It's very big in Japan. It's got a really good base, but to be honest, I think we should talk about Nintendo right now for 2015.
Yep.
A dismal disgrace and a disgusting year. I love Nintendo fanboy at heart, but the amount of releases, the quality of the releases, and what the releases were this year were a shame. It was disgusting. I can understand, yes, we've got NX rumours. We're talking 2016. 2016 is undoubtedly going to be a massive year for Nintendo. We'll probably see a new Pokemon. I wanted one this year, God help me, but I'll see it next year. We'll see the NX next year. We'll see a crap ton. I'm almost going to have all of my budget for Nintendo, but I wanted more this year, and I just didn't get it.
Yeah, that's the one thing I've got to admit. A lot of what you see from Nintendo from this year is for next year.
Mm.
And that's basically what I got out of a lot of it, was that all of the things, the only one that I do remember from this year is Splatoon.
Well, we also had Yoshi's Woolly World. Great entry. I think it was a solid, beautiful. Oh my god, great entry.
It's a good game, but like the biggest one that stands out is Splatoon. There hasn't been any big releases. I mean,
I disagree
Mario
entirely.
Tennis just recently released, but no one
picked it up because it
wasn't-
was a
it
skin.
wasn't-
It was nothing.
Yeah.
Yep. I think I do disagree though. I think Yoshi's Woolly World, biggest Nintendo release this year. However, it should have been released the previous year. They delayed it because they knew they were going to delay the
Actually, I
2015
stand
schedule.
corrected. I reckon that their biggest release this year was Mario Maker.
Touche.
Because that was basically what everyone was looking for. I mean, you see so many PC mods out
Touche.
there that have Mario clones, and they're basically, balls to the wall hard, because this is what people wanted in Mario, and they released this, which gives them the exact, basically like a carbon copy of what they use to create the Mario levels.
Let me put it to you guys then. We've all seen Mario Maker. We know how it works. We played it. Let me put it to you. Could it be Game of the Year? Or does it not count as a game?
I don't think it counts as a game.
It's a game creation tool.
Yes, it's the same as what Xbox brought. I think Xbox has brought it out. No, they
Project
haven't. Not yet.
Spark,
Project
no?
Spark.
Yeah,
It's
it's
similar
already
to
out.
the thing
Yeah.
like Project Spark, where
It's not a game. It's got
creation
game
tool.
in it, but it's a creation tool.
And I couldn't care less about it.
Fair enough. There'll be a large audience that don't care about it because it's not a game.
I haven't bothered playing. I played a little bit of Mario Galaxy 1, and I played the hell out of Mario 64 back when I was a child, and that's about my extent of Mario.
Mario just keeps getting better and better, and you haven't lived
Ma-
till you've
Mario-
experienced the
I
modern
will admit
Marios.
Mario Kart is good.
You haven't played
But-
a solid entry
Yeah.
in the Mario game. That's the issue. Mario on the Wii U was just so polished and refined.
Which one are we on about?
Good point. Wii U.
New Super Mario U.
Yeah, new Super Mario U. It was an average game, but it was very polished in what you'd expect from Mario.
Yeah.
And I think Mario Maker takes it to the next level, but it's not a game.
No, it's a creation tool.
And so, as much as I would love to recognise Nintendo for once in God knows how many years as Game of the Year or Game of the Year contender, it can't happen.
No.
Not with Mario Maker, not with their release this year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go then next to Batman: Arkham Knight, released in June.
Let me speak about this one. So this game was one of the most anticipated for this year, especially following after not Arkham Origins but Arkham City.
Yeah.
It was the return of Rocksteady bringing this game back. So it was
It's what we all wanted to see.
Arkham Origins was done by Warner Brothers,
Mhm.
and then Rocksteady took the IP back and did Arkham
Took the reins
Knight.
again and go, no,
Basic-
you've done it wrong. This
Yeah.
is what you meant to do.
Exactly.
And we've all played it
Yep.
to
And-
varying degrees.
My God, did they fuck that up?
So hard.
Oh, like
Well, I got 20
The-
minutes into it and
the-
stopped. It was just, no.
I've played the shit out of it. I will keep playing it, but
Because
my
you're a
God,
Batman fan.
Yeah.
We'll say you're a little bit biased. Yeah.
Exactly. But even then, I'm saying they fucked it up.
They really did. Batmobile.
Now
It lost its fucking wheels.
I understand that we have been asking for the Batmobile since
Inception.
Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
Since Arkham Asylum, where people have been asking to drive the Batmobile in a Batman game, and Rocksteady listened to them, but they shoved it down their throats, and I think that's where it fell off the Game of the Year contender, is because that one mechanic was basically the core mechanic for the game, whereas the stealth, the detective modes and all that were for the previous ones, where it worked without the Batmobile.
They made it too central as
Yeah,
opposed to an add-on.
They made it, basically, rather than using it as a pure, like in Destiny, how the Sparrow is used as a pure travel device, they used this as a core mechanic to a game.
Yeah, it was the key feature.
It was one of the key features, and it was like, hey, here's a Batmobile, you have to drive it. But I don't want to drive it, I want to fly around as Batman. No, you have to drive it. And they messed with the the lore and the story a bit too much. Chucking a Deathstroke into a tank and having a tank battle with Batman, that would never happen.
It's a disgrace, to be
Like
honest.
the world's greatest assassin versus the world's greatest detective. I don't think they're going to battle it out in a tank. You might see Batman fight, Killer Croc or something in his Batmobile, or Bane in his Batmobile, as we saw in Arkham Asylum, where he hits him into the ocean with the Batmobile. We might see stuff like that, but we would never see an assassin and a detective go up against it. And
it was a shambles. It was a mess.
Yeah.
It was a hardcore mess.
a nice looking game, and then you had the PC release that was destroyed, which is still destroyed.
Good old Frubix.
This is something I like a little bit too much. I love it when game developers fuck up. I love it. They release a game on PC. Doesn't work because they had 2 people or something on development. That's fine.
They actually outsourced it to another developer.
That's fine. Fuck up your first release. Cool. You've apologised. You can patch it. You pull the game. You work on it. You re-release it. And it still fucks up. And then you go and offer refunds. How about you get the game right? Or don't release it at all. That's disgusting. Absolutely pitiful from any game developer, especially a AAA game. If it was an indie game, I would forgive it. I would probably play it. A beta game, I would play it.
Majority of indie games will patch and patch and patch and patch and patch until they get it right.
This was a disgrace. This was on par with, if not worse than, Assassin's Creed Unity.
And its sales dropped dramatically due to the fact of the fuck up with the Batmobile, the fuck up with the PC release,
the fuck up with gameplay being the Batmobile,
Yep.
but also the Batmobile physical item that you missed out on.
Yeah, exactly. Like that
there's
Batmobile
a twofold
release.
Batmobile stuff.
A lot of people, not myself, but a lot of people just canned the Arkham franchise altogether after that.
Yep. I don't blame them. Alright, so let's keep going a little bit. Now, we're getting down into July to September period. Going through this list, there's Rocket League, which we'll touch in a second. Going through the list, there's not a whole lot happening in here. We've got God of War 3 Remastered, which is, of course, a remaster, so we can't touch it. We had a Full Boyfriend, but that was a PS4, PS Vita. And, of course, it was just a funny little dating game. Tembo the Badass Elephant, which, if you like, ladies and gentlemen, link in the description, go watch my solo queue. Not impressed. Keep going down. There's not a whole lot here. This was the time of year that I was talking about. There's absolutely nothing. We are looking at Fallout Shelter, which came on an Android, Zombie, which came out last year or the year before on Wii U.
Nothing that you would consider a
AAA game?
A AAA release. Or...
Oh, look, I think there was FIFA 16 in there or something.
Yeah, but FIFA gets released the same time.
Same time every year.
Every year, and there's not much different.
But then we get to an interesting thing that I think we all forgot. I think you forgot. 1st of September. A little game called Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain.
Phantom Pain.
It's a Game of the Year contender, for sure.
Yes, but I can't consider it because it was unfinished. With another game that came through so many problems. It seems to be the year of problems for gaming developers.
Could we see another gaming crash? Who knows?
Hashtag fuck Konami. But you had Hideo Kojima getting fired or put on, prolonged holidays.
Or not only that, he was banned from the VGAs.
Yeah.
Konami banned him from the VGAs.
Yeah, exactly.
Video Game Awards.
The Video Game Awards.
No, but he got banned?
Yeah,
Konami physically would not allow him to go to the VGAs.
For the fear that people would go, hey, what's actually happening?
Or some other game developer that's sitting there would go,
do you want to come work for us?
Do you want a job?
Yeah.
So Konami turned and said, nah, you are not allowed to go, because with the stuff that's been going on with him at the moment and Konami, he would have taken a job with someone else.
Oh,
he probably would have turned around and said, alright, well, if Capcom went up to him and said, hey, do you want to make a Resident Evil? He would have been like, yeah,
100%,
okay.
Yeah.
And that would have, like with Silent Hill, Konami's Silent Hill fiasco.
Oh, that was another stuff up.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be done this year, and that didn't get released. But, yeah, Metal Gear Solid was not finished.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff was left out.
Great game, though.
Fantastic game,
Beautiful,
don't get me wrong.
Great gameplay.
It is a great game, it had a good story, but it was an unfinished game, and I can't consider something to be a game of the year
If
when
it's
it isn't
not
a full game.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, check out link in the description. Jimmy D's solid Q on that game. Another big release we looked at. Let's continue down the list, and we are all the way down in October already. Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Big game, but you know what? Assassin's Creed's just meh now.
It's same.
You cannot make one of those a game of the year anymore. Not unless you've got the worst year in gaming ever.
No, I mean,
Yeah, like-
the last good one that they had would
Was
have to
number
be
2.
2.
Yeah.
We're all
And they-
pretty.
And they've watered that down with
Jeez,
its sequels.
They milked the shit out of 2.
We're all pretty hard on Assassin's Creed in this room. And I think rightly so.
Yep.
The stuff ups.
Look, it's a solid
They're generally
IP.
solid games now. But there's nothing fantastic
Apart
about
from
them.
Unity, apart from Black Flag, apart from number 3, apart from number 2.7, apart from number 2.5.
I didn't mind
Yeah.
them. I didn't mind them. They weren't terrible games.
No, they're never terrible
But
games apart from Unity.
For a
But they're
AAA
never
title,
great.
Unity actually wasn't too bad once
Okay,
it was
apart
fixed.
yeah, but the thing is, a AAA developer released a broken game. It's the same thing I've been saying in this entire session.
And this
Broken
is-
games
yeah.
left, right, and center. It's a
The
disgrace.
the thing that we like, that a lot of people don't understand when they see stuff like that it's a broken game and stuff. It comes down to two things. It can either be the developer being too lazy to fix their game in post processing, or it could be the
Budgets,
what do they call them?
time constraints, budgets,
Yeah, what do they call not the developer, the
manufacturer,
publishers.
publisher, yeah,
The publisher saying this game needs to be finished by this date.
and not given the resources. I understand that process,
Metal Gear
but
Solid
the
fell for that.
publisher shouldn't allow it.
Yeah.
I know that that's what they're doing, but they shouldn't.
EA! Konami! Fuck you!
They really shouldn't allow it. I don't care. It's going to end up being... We're going to see the next DT.
Yeah, and this is...
And you know what? Nintendo's going to do it because they just friggin' well did it with Mario Tennis. One of the games I said at our very first podcast I was looking forward to this year has 0 in it. I might as well just go and play my 3DS version. It's a disgrace.
Might as well just play an emulation.
Let's move on. Halo 5 Guardians. Game of the year or not?
No.
Of course
No.
not.
I have played it. I played it all the
Don't
way
be silly.
through.
All half
It
hour
was-
of it.
It was short. It was very, very short. For something that the previous installments focused so heavily on a story, this one didn't. This one did a complete Call of Duty and went straight for the multiplayer.
Yeah.
Multiplayer is solid, multiplayer is great.
But there's
but-
not enough meat on the bone again.
No, and this is the thing. What a lot of people had a problem with this game was that it started getting good at the end of the game. It drags out this whole prologue,
Setting up for another game.
setting it up. This whole game is basically a setup for Halo 6, the last installment of this trilogy that they're making. And it sucked because it was just getting good, and then it ends.
Also, the marketing on that, and I have a little project on this going on, but the marketing on that was severely misleading and deceptive. Severely so. I think, in terms of an Australian culture and an Australian standard, possibly in breach of the Australian consumer law. But we'll talk about that more in 2016. Let's continue on. Star Wars Battlefront. We've all had our impressions. Not overly impressed.
Yep.
We did do a beta review. We did do a live stream, so we've played the game quite a bit. We decided it was meh. Links
Yeah.
in the description of those videos.
Look, it's a multiplayer, and purely just a multiplayer. You play the story. The story is basically just the multiplayer, with incompetent AI. I have played the single player, and you run around in circles for nearly 10 minutes trying to find one enemy. It's good multiplayer.
Again,
Dice-
like Halo 5,
DICE does make some good multiplayers,
of course.
but it's another one of those things that it's a problem that so many of them are focusing on multiplayer because that's where they can get their money through microtransactions.
Yep.
Whereas,
You're not getting money out of the single player stuff because
There
you
are
can play the
people-
single player stuff and not need extra stuff out of it.
there are people like myself who will buy a game for the story.
Yep.
Order 1886. A lot of people didn't like that because the gameplay wasn't there. I liked it because the story was there, and the story was solid.
Yep.
Halo 5, I was looking forward to that one because I thought that would have a story. It didn't. Star Wars, another one where I thought it would have a story. It didn't.
Yeah. It's the year of a lackluster story.
Yeah, a lot of games are focusing on this multiplayer where, you know, we do have multiplayer games. We just had Rainbow Six Siege release, which is purely multiplayer. And I'm fine with that because it marketed itself as a multiplayer. It never said that it had
that's its thing.
But
It
it's
never said it had a
also
story.
it also sets itself up for MLG. Now, obviously, we will talk about Rocket League more in detail because that's my pick for Game of the Year, and we will turn into hypocrites because there's very little solo player campaign, but it sets itself up for MLG material. Same as Siege.
But that's the thing, is like these games, like Siege, like Rocket League and all that kind of stuff, they never marketed themselves as a story. They never said they had a story in this game. They said, this is a multiplayer, this is a competitive multiplayer, this is how it's supposed to be played. And that's what they've done, and that's why I don't have a problem with these kind of games being multiplayer only. But when you sit there and you market Call of Duty, you market Battlefield, you market Star Wars Battlefront, you market Halo as story-driven games,
And you
or
have a
say that they
lackluster
have a story and then they have nothing in them,
It's a disgrace.
or, you know, half an hour of a story for a $100 game, which I don't want to play the multiplayer of.
Yeah.
If I wanted to play the multiplayer, release the multiplayer
yeah,
separately.
2 separate games. Could be
Give
a
us
very
one
interesting
huge
idea.
story.
Provided you got the story, it's not an issue.
Yeah.
That way then people can buy the multiplayer and that can be constantly updated and changed. You can have different metas. That can become a competitive multiplayer game.
Alright, let's get to the meat and bones. Apparently my favourite saying today of this discussion. Shoggsie 23. Try to sway us to Fallout 4 for Game of the Year.